Hey, all you cool cats and kittens, it's Miss Shannon. I am back with part 3 of A Sound of Thunder. Yesterday we, read about their trip down through time, how cool it was to see everything going backwards, and Eccles and Travis and L'Esperance had a very serious conversation about the potential consequences of what could happen if they, change time. So they're going to hunt this Tyrannosaurus Rex. He's got a red mark on him because he was going to die from a tree falling or the tar pit or something was going to happen. Excuse me, hiccups. Something was going to happen to him. So we know his death is not going to affect the future. We talked a little bit about how Eccles seems kind of like a little bit clueless. Travis there seems pretty sharp and pretty smart. But Mr. Eccles is, well, he sounds like he maybe has more money than sense, right? He's real concerned about whether he's going to live or not, and what could happen when he goes back through time. And he doesn't seem to, I guess, take everything that Travis is saying very seriously. So we're going to start off with I'm going to reread paragraph 51 since it's just a line. We're going to read through 92 and answer guiding question number 6. So I hope y'all are ready to start. Let's go. They were ready to leave the machine. The jungle was high, and the jungle was broad, and the jungle was the entire world forever and forever. Sounds like music and sounds like flying tents filled the sky, and those were pterodactyls soaring with cavernous gray wings, gigantic bats of delirium and night fever. Eccles, balanced on the narrow path, aimed his rifle playfully. "Stop that," said Travis. "Don't even aim for fun, blast you. If your gun should go off—" Eccles flushed. "Where's our Tyrannosaurus?" L'Esperance checked his wristwatch. "Up ahead. We'll bisect his trail in 60 seconds. Look for the red paint. Don't shoot till we give the word. Stay on the path. Stay on the path." They moved forward in the wind of morning. "Strange," murmured Eccles. "Up ahead 60 million years, election day over, Keith made president, everyone's celebrating, and here we are, a million years lost, and they don't exist. The things we worried about for months, a lifetime, not even born or thought of yet." "Safety catches off, everyone," ordered Travis. "You, first shot, Eccles. Second, Billings. Third, Kramer." "I've hunted tiger, wild boar, buffalo, elephant, and now this is it," said Eccles. "I'm shaking like a kid." "Ah," said Travis. Everyone stopped. Travis raised his hand. "Ahead," he whispered. "In the mist. There he is. There's his royal majesty now." The jungle was wide and full of twitterings, rustlings, murmurs, and sighs. Suddenly it all ceased, as if someone had shut a door. Silence. A sound of thunder. Out of the mist 100 yards away came Tyrannosaurus Rex. "It," whispered Eccles, "shh." It came on great, oiled, resilient, striding legs. It towered 30 feet above half the trees, a great evil god folding its delicate watchmaker's claws close to its oily reptilian chest. Each lower leg was a piston, 1,000 pounds of white bone sunk in thick ropes of muscle, sheathed over in a gleam of pebbled skin like mail of a terrible warrior. Each thigh was a ton of meat, ivory, and steel mesh, and from the great breathing cage of the upper body those two delicate arms dangled out in front, arms with hands which might pick up and examine men like toys, while the snake neck coiled. And the head itself, a ton of sculptured stone lifted easily upon the sky. Its mouth gaped, exposing a fence of teeth like daggers. Its eyes rolled ostrich egg, empty of all expression save hunger. It closed its mouth in a death grin. It ran, its pelvic bones crushing aside trees and bushes, its taloned feet clawing damp earth, leaving prints 6 inches deep wherever it settled its weight. It ran with a gliding ballet step, far too poised and balanced for its 10 tons. It moved into a sunlit arena warily, its beautifully reptilian hands feeling the air. All right, we got to talk about this paragraph because this is like an amazing paragraph. Look at and Go back and let's look at 70 and look at the words that Bradbury uses to describe this animal. Not, is it an animal? Are reptiles animals? I don't know. I keep reading this dinosaur. So look at the words that he describes what it looks like, how big it is, right? It towered 30 feet above half the trees. So he's talking about this forest that goes on forever and ever and ever, right? And this guy is so big that it's 30 feet taller than most of the trees. He says it's a great evil god. It's got delicate watchmaker's claws, and that it holds close to its oily reptilian chest. So it says the lower leg was a piston. So we know that's the thing in the car that like moves, and the thing that makes the car move. I don't know. Ask your dads, grandparents, moms if they know how to do that kind of stuff. You know what pistons are. Um, so he says, each leg is 1,000 pounds of bone wrapped in thick ropes of muscles. And how does he describe the skin? Like it's a gleam of pebble, like the mail of a terrible warrior. So when he says mail here, we have that footnote 11. So that's like the chainmail, right? So it's like he's comparing the skin to armor. So each thigh was a ton of meat ivory. So ivory is a white bone, pretty much. It's what elephant tusks are made of. But in this use, he's comparing it to bone, or he's saying that ivory is bone. So he's a ton of meat ivory and steel mesh. And then how he describes those little T-Rex arms. Um, I mean, they're kind of funny, right? Because they're delicate, but then Bradbury's emphasizing the scariness of even these, funny little T-Rex arms by saying that they have arms and hands that might pick up and examine men like toys. So yeah, sure, they're funny little arms, but they could pick you up like you're a little toy, and of course, then he's going to talk about the head with the fence of teeth. A very good metaphor, the fence of teeth. And then, so the teeth were, now we have a simile, like daggers. So it's eyes. He's comparing them with ostrich eggs. And then I like this part where he says, his eyes are empty of all expression save hunger. So, he's really emphasizing the raw, animalness of this T-Rex by, talking about how he's nothing but meat and bones and skin and hunger. That's its entire being exists to hunt and eat. And I think the contrast here of these hunters who, the T-Rex is a hunter, these men are hunters, and they're not hunting it for food the way that the T-Rex is. I think, Bradbury specifically chose this line, that his eyes are empty of all save hunger. Could we not say that about the men who were hunting him? Their eyes are empty of everything except hunger, not of food, but of, bravado and pride and hunger to prove that they're the best, that they're the strongest, that they're the toughest by doing this. I just think it's really interesting. You may disagree with me, and that's okay. So talking about how it ran with you know, its feet sunk, left footprint 6 inches deep. It was so heavy. And then he says this part, this metaphor, it ran with a gliding ballet step. So it's, this huge towering beast of a monster, but it runs like a ballerina. It's too poised and balanced. I just think it's a great paragraph. It's just chock full of figurative language. Um, You'll need to think about this question next week, or think about this paragraph. Keep it in mind. Next week, you'll have a question where you're going to have to describe the tone of meeting the dinosaur, and you'll want to remember some of this in this paragraph. Anyway, it's a great paragraph. So, the next one, it moved into a sunlit arena warily, its beautifully reptilian hands feeling the air. Why? Why, Eckles twitched his mouth. It could reach up and grab the moon. Shh! Travis jerked angrily. He hasn't seen us yet. It can't be killed. Eccles pronounced this verdict quietly, as if there could be no argument. He had weighed the evidence, and this was his considered opinion. The rifle in his hands seemed a cap gun. We were fools to come. This is impossible. All right, so we have our question number 6 here. So we've had this beautiful description of the dinosaur, and now how is Eckles feeling? He says he's comparing his rifle to a cap gun. That's one of those little toy guns that kids play with. So when Eccles sees the T-Rex, he is A, impressed by his strength and is he determined to kill it, shocked by its size and doubts their ability to hunt it, amazed by its appearance and reluctant to kill it, or D, afraid of its size and doesn't want to take the first shot. So if he's saying the rifle in his hands seems like a cap gun, it can't be killed, we were fools to come, this is impossible, B is the only thing that fits. So, we were fools to come. This is impossible. Shut up, hissed Travis. Nightmare. Turn around, commanded Travis. Walk quietly to the machine. We'll remit 1/2 your fee. I didn't realize it would be so big, said Eccles. I miscalculated, that's all, and now I want out. It sees us. There's the red paint on its chest. The tyrant lizard raised itself. Its armored flesh glittered like 1,000 green coins. The coins, crusted with slime, steamed. In the slime, tiny insects wriggled so that the entire body seemed to twitch and undulate, even while the monster itself did not move. It exhaled. The stink of raw flesh blew down into the wilderness. Get me out of here, said Eccles. It was never like this before. I was always sure I'd come through alive. I had good guides, good safaris, and safety. This time I figured wrong. I've met my match and admitted this is too much for me to get a hold of. Don't run, said L'Esperance. Turn around. Hide in the machine. Yes. Eccles seemed to be numb. He looked at his feet as if trying to make them move. He gave a grunt of helplessness. Eccles. He took a few steps, blinking, shuffling. Not that way. The monster, at the first motion, lunged forward with a terrible scream. It covered 100 yards in 6 seconds. The rifles jerked up and blazed fire. A windstorm from the beast's mouth engulfed them in the stench of slime and old blood. The monster roared, teeth glittering with sun. Eccles, not looking back, walked blindly to the edge of the path, his gun limp in his arms, stepped off the path and walked, not knowing it, in the jungle. His feet sank into green moss, his legs moved him, and he felt alone and remote from the events behind. The rifles cracked again. Their sound lost in shriek and lizard thunder. The great level of the reptile's tail swung up, lashed sideways. Trees exploded in clouds of leaf and branch. The monster twitched its jeweler's hands down to fondle at the men, to twist them in half, to crush them like berries, to cram them into its teeth and screaming throat. Its boulder stone eyes leveled with the men. They saw themselves mirrored. They fired at the metallic eyelids and the blazing black iris. Like a stone idol, like a mountain avalanche, Tyrannosaurus fell. Thundering, it clutched trees, pulled them with it. It wrenched and tore the metal path. The men flung themselves back and away. The body hit. 10 tons of cold flesh and stone. The guns fired. The monster lashed its armored tail, twitched its snake jaws, and laid still. A fount of blood spurted from its throat. Somewhere inside, a sack of fluid burst. Sickening gushes drenched the hunters. They stood red and glistening. The thunder faded. Right. That was a very vivid description there of this beautiful monsters, as Bradbury describes it, of his death. So tomorrow we will finish the story and finish the guiding questions. And I'll see y'all later. Can't click the stop button.